Hello and welcome to my 2024 stats video. This is my favorite video to make. I say this every year, but it is true. I love seeing my statistics from the previous year. I love comparing it to the years before that. I love seeing how I have improved or not. I love all of that. I love watching other people's statistics as well. I love seeing the way they show their statistics. I just love this type of video. I don't know, it's just, I love it. As per usual, for the past few years, I've been doing it with pictures instead of like using the actual books because a lot of the books that I read, I don't have. So it doesn't make any sense. So let's just start. In 2024, I read 80 books. I did not reach my reading challenge goal whatsoever. It was 100, I read 80. I am completely fine with that number. I don't really care anymore. I used to care a lot. I don't anymore. I read when I have time and patience, and that's enough for me. 80 books is amazing, in my opinion. There's people I've seen who've read like 1,000 books or some insanity. That's never gonna be me. Yeah, I read 80 books exactly, which is very strange, which is 26,777 pages in total. My goal for the year was 25,000, so thank the Lord for that. Which, if we calculate with the entire year, which 2024 was a leap year, so 366 days, that would mean that I read 73 pages a day. However, I don't read every day. I rarely read every single day. That's just not my thing, I think. I don't know. Last year, I read 138 days out of the total 366. I don't know why I don't read more than that, but yes, I read 138 days, which if I change my stats to be the correct number of days that I read, I actually read 195 pages a day, which is very different to 70, which means that I read a book every day and a half-ish. So every 1.7 day I read a book out of the days that I actually read. Let's remember. Moving on to every single month of the year. The most that I read in a month was in May, and the least that I read was in August, which was 2 books, which you might be like, those are your best and worst months. No, not really. Because I actually looked into the star rating of the books that I read, and the best month, which is the month with the most, I think it's 5 stars or also 4.5 stars, is May. And the worst month with the most 1 stars, I think, I don't know if I included 1.5s and 2 stars. I think it's just 1 and 1.5. That's so confusing. Is March. So not the same. So technically, the best month is still the best month, but the worst month is not. And the average amount of books that I read a month was 6.5 books, which is pretty good, I think. Moving on to ratings of the books that I read, I did not read a single 1-star, which is very strange, but I didn't hate a book. The books that I hated, I DNF'd for once. The most amount of books in a section is the 4 stars. I read a lot of 4 stars, more than any other star rating, which is very strange, but that meant that my average rating was a 3.63, which is slightly worse than last year, because last year was a 3.65. Next, I have the genre of the books that I read. I have 2 different options because I do read a hefty amount of manga. I didn't read as much as last year because I felt like that was a bit much. But I still, for the first part of this genre thing, I put manga by themselves. I read, of course, mostly manga, and then my second most read genre is fantasy, and then a close third is romance. I obviously read some mystery thrillers and a couple classics and a few graphic novels. However, if I do mix the manga into their respective genres, I obviously get romance as the most read genre. Most of the manga that I read is romantic. The second most read genre is fantasy, and then we have the same things. I also mixed in the graphic novels. Moving on, I have whether or not the book was part of a series. As per usual, it is mostly books that are part of a series. That's pretty normal for me. I read a lot more books that were part of a series versus standalone. I feel like that's pretty normal because that's just how it is for me, at least for the past couple of years since I've been doing these videos. Next, I have the target audience of the books. I, per usual, read mostly young adult, and then my second most read audience is adult, and I only read one book that was middle grade. I feel like I'm slowly but surely heading towards adult, but it's very slow because I still have a lot of YA on my bookshelves that I haven't read that I still want to get to. So that is the problem. Next, I organized the books that I read by the size of the book, and I personally do it in the following manner. If a book is from 100 pages to 199 pages, it is under the 100 page category. I read a lot of books that were 100 pages, 100 to 199. A lot of 300 page books as well. There were a few 200 page books, one that was under 100 pages, and then a couple 400 and 500 page books. My average is 335 pages per book, which is like 100 more than last year, almost. I think last year it was actually 255, so an improvement. Next, I have whether or not I had read from the authors before. Did that make sense? I mostly read authors that are new to me. I think that's pretty usual, at least for me. I keep finding new people to read from, but it was not too different of a number, I feel like. I feel like usually it's way bigger of a difference, maybe because I read less books. I don't know. Speaking of authors, the most read author of 2024 for me was Akane Tamura. I might be mispronouncing that, but it is the author of A Side Character's Love Story, which I read 10 books from. And then in second place, I have the Fullmetal Alchemist series by Hiromu Arakawa, and then I have my love story with Yamada-kun at level 999. Yeah, obviously everything is manga. Next, I have whether the book was published in the year that this video is about, so 2024, or if it is backlisted. I normally read a lot of backlisted, so you can guess what my most read is for this category. I only read around, I think 15 books that were published in 2024. The rest were all backlisted. I think the oldest book that I read was either Peter Pan or A Christmas Carol. I will check and leave it on the screen. Next, I have where the book came from. The books that were published in 2024 mostly were from NetGalley. There were a few that were published before, but I still got them from NetGalley. Most of the manga was from online platforms. And then 2 books were from the library, 1 I read on the Kindle, and then the biggest category, if I put it all together, would be books that I own, but I separate it into 2 categories for books that I owned before last year and books that I bought last year and read. I mostly read books that I had owned previously, and then I read around 15 books that I bought last year. Next, I have whether the book was physical or an ebook, and I mostly read physical books. Amen to that. It was very close though. I read a lot of ebooks, which maybe I should not do, but whatever. Next, I have all the readathons that I participated and how many books I read for that. I participated in Aurelium, or Magical Readathon, and Buzzword. I did not participate in Bookopoly. I don't know. For Magical Readathon, I read quite a lot. I don't think I read anything for Lightfall, but I still participated-ish. I read all of the books for Spring Equinox. I read almost all of the prompts for the Autumn Equinox. I still have 1 to finish this year. I also did a lot, not all, of the Adventure in Eldia. I'll put up the actual little, like, story infographic thing of all the books that I read for each prompt. And then for Buzzword, I did not do all of them either. I never can finish these, but I still try. This is the infographic for that. I read some of them. Next, I have DNFs, rereads, and books that I have not finished. I DNF'd 5 books last year for multiple reasons, but it doesn't matter. And then I reread 5 books as well. 3 of them were Full Metal Alchemist volumes because I wanted to finish the series and I needed to reread the first 3 because I had read them before and I did not remember everything. And the last book I have not finished is The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi, which I still want to finish this year. Next, I have the 10 books I want to read in 2024 and whether or not I actually read them. I had the 10 books on the screen right now and I actually read most of them, kind of. I read 5 of the 10 books and I DNF'd another, so the 6th book I DNF'd. I did better than previous years, so it might be improving. And lastly, I have this like, I don't even know how to explain this. This might be really random, but I like seeing how many books I actually keep each year that I have bought, which I think is kind of interesting. I don't know. I like it. I find it interesting. So I wanted to compare how many of the physical books that I read I actually am keeping. And I only keep books that I actually liked. It was really, really close. I think there's like a 2 book difference, but I'm mostly keeping the books that I read physically. I think it's 24 books out of the 80 that I read in total I owned and I actually am keeping, and then 22 books, which include all of the DNFs, I am unhauling, which will be in my unhaul video. Spoiler alert. But those are my 2024 statistics. If you have done a video like this, please leave it in the comments. I would love to watch it. I love seeing visual representations of what everyone has read throughout the year. Love it. Hopefully this year I reach my goal, but if not, it's okay. I'm fine. But that is everything for today, and I'll see you in my next word video. Bye!